What up? Hold on.
What's happening, man? I see you set the mood already. Got the music going. The good life.
Hold on. Okay, I didn't hear what you just said. What'd you say?
I'm saying I see you set the mood. You got the good music going.
Yeah,
Right. Lighting. I got the hospital lights going on over here.
Where are you? Are you in your house?
Yeah. Let me fix the light real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's terrible. I gotta put my blue blockers on just to talk to you.
I know. I gotta put my own on.
How are you, Alka?
Got a bunch of crappy. Here we go. Yeah. So, anyways, my brother, he likes these white lights somehow. I don't understand why and how. He like.
Yeah.
But so he usually has those lights on, and I have these lights on. I like it darker, different moods. So anyway,
It's good to see you, brother.
you too, man. What's happening? How's everything?
Dude, I mean, best ever.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Like quarantine. I mean, I already lived in a quarantine, so I mean, I'm not really prescribing to the quarantine, so I'm all over the place, having the best time ever. A lot of inner focus, a lot of getting a lot of shit done and making magic and stuff. You know how I do it.
Yeah.
How about you?
Do you feel much difference or not? Not really, since like before.
No. I mean, I feel the collective consciousness. I feel a lot of that energy of like that reset. You know what I mean? Which is what we always wanted. And then I don't watch the news, so I'm not part of that whole crazy, nonsense. So it feels really good that finally we're like, okay, we're not on that hamster wheel anymore.
Yeah.
And it was bound to happen in some way, right?
Yeah, one way or another was gonna happen.
How about you?
It's good. I get a lot more sleep for sure. I go out a lot less. So it's you know me, bro. So it's definitely better overall. I think health-wise, I'm doing a lot better. But at the same time, a lot of things that I got used to during the quarantine, I'm probably going to stick with it afterwards too. I'm going to keep doing it, and a lot of things I just realized that I don't miss, and I'm spending more time, more focused on the things that I should be doing. And at the same time, kind of realizing what things I need to cut out more. And I'm not talking about health things, but generally maybe I'm working too much, or,
Sure.
picking too many things at once, so just prioritize.
Like slowing down a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
We forget sometimes that we're human beings as opposed to human doing, right? And it's just like nonstop. That's, it's part of the material world, right? Where it's like, if you're sitting idle, then you're a loser. You know what I mean? It's like gone to that point where they actually like, there's no time for that. You got to be productive. It's kind of a Persian thing too. I've noticed, with a lot of Persian parents, like, you gotta be doing this, you gotta go to school, you gotta get the It's like, come on, like, just relax, let me find my way. And so let me just introduce you for my audience. Everybody's on here. Erfan's an old friend of mine. We grew up together. I mean, we met each other when we were like 16, 17 years old, and we've stayed in touch ever since. We kind of had two separate journeys, but we've come together over the last several years. A lot of the same, we hold a lot of the same heart and the same vibration, not only because we're both Persian, but because we both have that operating to be our best, striving for success, striving for greatness. And, talent, Erfan's a very talented individual. You might be recognized as the most famous Persian rapper of all time. Is that kind of?
I'm one of the pioneers of it, and there's a few of us that started around the same time, same generation, and there's a lot of things that I did. Like I did music videos, concerts, maybe internationally released and distributed albums, stuff like that. I was the first to do many things like that, but at the same time, there's other things that I like doing. And I'm just like dedicated to multiple things, and sometimes that's when the schedule thing comes kind of.
No, it kind of takes you off that path.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is, you and I did an interview for Dash Radio, and we were supposed to be going into the production of all that, but because of what's happened with COVID, that whole thing just got stopped. We were starting the process, you know, late February, early March, and then this whole thing deranged that whole thing. So our interview that we did together was really about, you know, your background, how you got into music, what parts of the obstacles you had as a musician, and how you persevered through it. Now, this is a self-mastery project. I started this with our brother Novak, and we're doing things on health, we're doing things on meditation, spirituality, business, everything. So I think where we gear this one is following your dream and seeing your dream come true, and like against all odds. I mean, what are the chances of someone, Persian culture, being able to create a career and create a legacy through music, especially music like that that's shunned so much in our home country of Iran?
Yeah.
And so why don't you give us like a quick summary of just how that all went down and what that experience has been like?
You know, early on I realized if I liked something, if I have passion for something, I don't get tired of it, and I stayed focused and I keep doing it for hours and hours. And then at the same time, I'm the type of person that if I don't like doing something, it's very difficult for me to do it. Like, I hate doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, say something like calling customer service. I hate it. I just don't do it. You know, I get tickets. I don't do it, whatever, this, that. But I'm focused on things that I like, and like self-belief and taking it one step at a time. If you believe in something, and you really think that there's no other thing that you love as much as that in your life, stick to it. The persistence and consistency is so important, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of times there's conversations about talent. There's a lot of talented people who are lazy and they don't ever get anywhere. You know what I mean? And generally the people who don't have talent in something and they work hard at it get farther than the people who are not talented.
Yeah.
Who are talented and are lazy. And I think if you can do the combination of both and just like stick to it, be persistent and consistent with what you do, you know, you reach it.
When did you know that you were going to be a musician, that you were going to be a rapper? When did that all come to fruition?
I always loved music at an early age, and the music that I listened to was a lot older than my age. You know, like I was listening to stuff that maybe people in high school or college listened to when I was in elementary school. And maybe they were listening to Persian music. I was listening to Nirvana when I was like, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old and stuff like that. Shout out to Chervin, it's still on my wall up here.
Rest in peace, 1994.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was 13 years old.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And I love poetry. You know, Iranian, the Farsi language is, I mean, if it's biased if I say it's the top language for poetry, because I haven't read like Japanese poetry and Chinese poetry. So, but at the same time, a lot of our poets like Rumi, like Khayyam, like Hafez, these are world-renowned poets. Their poetry's been translated in so many different languages. And just from that, just reading that as a child, that's something that actually kind of, I gravitated towards Farsi because of this poetry. Because at some point, believe it or not, I was living here and I couldn't even speak Farsi, right? And I moved back to Iran. Wow. And one of the ways that I learned Farsi is that I got a book of Saadi for my 9th birthday. And I just kind of got into it, and it was so interesting. It had so many stories and that I could even understand as a child. So I got really into it. And anyways, just, you know, fast forward a few years later, my love and music kind of came together. I'd moved back to America again. I've done that multiple times. Very strange background. I've elementary school, junior high, high school, and even kindergarten, all 4. I lived in Iran. I went to all 4 of these in Iran and here. So I kind of like got a, you know, crazy mix of both cultures in both countries. Yeah. And just like my love for hip hop and my love for poetry and writing kind of mixed together, and I started doing it, and, you know, here I am.
So I talk a lot about word magic. I talk about how the English language is corrupted, how it's been reversed on us, how there's black magic involved in word magic. Like, I don't say the word morning. I don't say good morning. I say grand rising. All of these lyrics in the vernacular, they're basically casting spells. They're super powerful. Words have a vibratory frequency. And so I think it's interesting that you mentioned about the Farsi language, where, you know, some of our favorite poets, Rumi, Hafez, Khayyam, you know, that language has so much meaning behind it, you know. And why don't you tell us, you know, something about that? Because that in itself is so powerful, and we take things for granted. And for example, in our native tongue, you know, if you want to explain it, Khodafis, what does Khodafis translate to?
Khuda Hafiz, may God like protect you, you know.
Right.
Like once you
And
leave, when you're leaving somewhere, they're like, may you be protected, you know, wherever you are until the next time I see you, you know, in that sense.
may God watch over you till I see you next.
Yeah.
That's what our goodbye translates to. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a glimmer or a glimpse of how powerful the Farsi language is.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ancient dialect that has not been beat up and reversed and changed and manipulated to serve a certain class of people. And so you're basically taking those lyrics, that beauty, and I'm sure your music has evolved, you know, has gone from, you know,
Absolutely.
speaking about these things to speaking about these things, and God knows where it's going. Only you know, and only the Creator knows. So I can see that that what you're doing is you're basically creating magic on earth when you're putting that music together.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of religious texts and stuff like that, like even if it's just Islam, the country, the religion of most of our country, they say when the angel Gabriel came down first, one of the first things he said to the prophet was "Iqra" in Arabic, which means like read, you know. So
How do you
just
say that?
Iqra
Yep.
in Arabic, yeah, Iqra. It means like read, and so it all goes back to reading and words and the power of those things, especially right now. Everybody can read and write, but
Yeah.
back then, very small portion of the population could read and write. So, you know, you can see the power of someone who could do that and write and just speak these things and the effect that it would have on people. And also about it's funny because since you mentioned Khayyam and I was talking about the poetry, he's my favorite poet. And the translation by Fitzgerald, which is everybody in the world loves and reads it, I don't like it that much because you can't translate some things like poetry and stuff like that. No matter how hard you try, just sometimes the words don't match in two different languages, and you can't do it, you know?
Yeah.
And so on the same token, what you're saying, even in English, you're talking about the good morning. I remember we talked about that on the podcast one time, and the different words they use, how the effect they have on you internally.
Yeah.
So same thing goes, like two exact texts, when they get translated in different languages, might give you a complete different impression, or even the same language, maybe two people reading it, they get a different understanding of what that means, and that's why people, you know. Anyways.
No, beautiful. I totally resonate with that, and that makes a lot of sense. I think it's so fascinating how you know we can try to interpret something in English, and it completely fouls the whole message up, and it doesn't have the tones, doesn't have the visceral effect, it doesn't have the passion and the love and all of those nuances of our reality, and that's what shows you what ancient tongues can do. Ancient language. I spent a lot of time with some Native American tribes here, and when I'm just even around them and I can hear their tongue, like this is their dialect, just the energy that it comes off changes my entire being, my essence, my vibration, all that stuff. And we're in a material mechanistic world where we're constantly just getting shouted out and weird noises, weird musics, a lot of stuff on TV, a lot of the stuff from the news. Those are lower harmonic frequencies that are lowering our vibration and cause us to feel shitty, feel like not in a good mood. And what do we do when we're not feeling good? We reach for things that are not good for us, just to block out that void. It's pretty easy to see how the system works, especially when it comes to sound and music. So you are influenced by a lot of these ancient scholars and ancient poets that come from our country. And also, I know you were influenced by Tupac. And both you and I share that. I mean, my whole delivery, my whole energy, my whole frequency a lot of it was molded by Tupac Shakur. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, man. I mean, we're both part of that generation and that age that, I feel like there's so many of us that Tupac had such a big influence on. And for me, myself, as an immigrant, like I said, I was always going back and forth. So there was a lot of times that just the energy of what Tupac said. And I feel like Tupac's one of those artists that you have to listen to his whole catalog and everything to get his whole essence, right? You can't judge him by one song. You can say, oh, this song talked about killing people, But there's so much other things, you can't pick and choose, it's a whole. And so I was really just moved always by the way he really helped me through a lot of times, a lot of hard times in my life in high school, and just listening to it gave me energy and gave me belief in myself that I could do what I want and I do what I love, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the way his delivery, the emotion that he brings when he raps, you know, he's talking about the hood, where he grew up, and things that like I know nothing about, that I've never personally been there, you know. But when I listened to it, he took me there, and I felt like I was there, you know, and I felt connected enough to want to do that, to want to rap and to like mix my feelings. I love writing, and like look what he's doing. He's painting these pictures and of his life and his experiences, and something that I want to do, and I want to give that to my people in my country, and that they don't have it, because like I said, when I was like 15, 16, Iranian Persian rap didn't exist, and I'm like, wow, imagine like doing this and connecting and doing something new. And you know, it happened 20 years later. The connection that I have through people, a lot of things that I did in my life, I actually like, I feel like I owe a lot of things to Tupac, amongst other people, like, you know, just like anybody else. Is like, he's one of my big influences, and I love him for that, you know.
Absolutely. So he's basically, I mean, Tupac said that I'm not here to change the world, but I'm here to plant the seeds. And basically he planted seeds in both of us. And we know across the board, most of our crew, a lot of our old friends, the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think his vulnerability was very easy for us, especially, you know, immigrants or Persians, you know, this and that, to be able to connect to that soul. And he spoke with such pain. And, you know, you're right. You can't just sample some of his songs and take a perspective on it. And that's pretty much what, you know, a lot of people try to do, is they'll try to take one thing at you and crucify you for it without looking at the big picture.
And exactly, that's the word that he used, and that's something that I feel like happens to me in my life, I'm sure. And I know of some certain experiences that you have like that. The people, if they want to hate you, if they don't want to believe in what you do, they could just like put everything, factor everything else out, and they just stick to that one thing they don't like about you, and they just start about you, you know, like, they know you and know about your life, you know.
Totally. And most of the time it's just a complete fabrication or an illusion. You know, we've gone through that. And for me personally, when I'm dealing with any kind of adversity like that, I've really just taken on a basic understanding that they need help.
Yeah.
And it makes no difference in my life whether I am upset about it or happy about it or whatever. It's like, we're just doing our thing over here. You keep doing whatever you're doing over there. I don't even get into that squabble anymore. When you remember me back in the day, I'd want to be jumping head first, swinging, you know, and it's like none of that shit no more. I don't let that bother me at all.
Yeah, funny you say that. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I get a message for someone a couple of days ago, and I get so many messages and mentions and stuff like that. I usually don't get to, like, you know, I just try to kind of skip through and find the important things that, like, if someone's messaging me about something important. And I saw someone's message, and he had said, like, oh, you whack, you bullshit, like, fuck you, sounds like talking a bunch of shit to me, right?
Just
I'm
nonsense.
like, yeah, and it doesn't affect me. When I saw it, I'm like, okay, this guy's in a bad mood. I'm like, let me respond to this guy. Let me respond to him, see what's up.
Okay.
Oh, he's like, you suck, you should work at a restaurant, you know? And I'm like, yeah, thanks for the message, man. I really appreciate it. Actually, like, unfortunately, because of the quarantine, a lot of restaurants are closed, but I've been putting applications. Hopefully someone's going to pick me up.
Nice.
Trying to make him laugh and trying to, like, put him in a good mood. So he came back. He's like, yeah, because you should learn from such and such. He was still heated. You know, you should learn from such and such person. And he worked at a restaurant when, like, he was younger, and he came out tough. He's not like you. I can tell your life's been easy from the T and, like, from everything, and you've never had any problems. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what? I just want to tell you something. I'm not going to go through the whole conversation, but basically I'm like, you know what? Actually, I did work at restaurants, and I've had worse jobs in restaurants growing up. I've been on my own since 17. Just because you see me living in a different country and a certain lifestyle right now doesn't mean it's been like this my whole life. And I worked really hard for everything that I have right now. You know, it's not like, and a lot of times, especially people in Iran, they're not used to that, because it's like, it's not, freedom in the sense of, like, financially you could do whatever you want in America, like, you're free to do it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And
was this guy in Iran? Was he in Iran?
He's a product of Iran. He lives in London now, but, like, yeah, he grew up in Iran, born and raised. And anyways, towards the end, he's like, you know what, I realized, like, I have not listened to most of your songs. I listened to 2 of your songs, like, maybe 10-15 years ago. I didn't listen to your songs about Iran. I didn't know this was your life. It's amazing. Like, you know, when's your concert in London? I want to come to your concert. I'm like, what? Like, you know, like, people flip, because sometimes they don't know there's somebody on the other line. They don't even think someone's gonna read it. They're online. It's not face to face. I could just fucking talk shit. I could say whatever I want.
Totally.
And no one's gonna see it. Anyways, so it's a funny
No,
story.
that's the best story ever, and I go through that all the time. I can't open a lot of my messages. They're just like, I can't even go through it. But sometimes when I have a moment, I breeze through them. You know what I mean? The messages that you haven't opened, you can you can see them, right? And I'm noticing I'm getting a lot of people that are like, they're like, oh my God, Chervin, I hated you when I first came across you, but I fucking love you now. And you've been such a mirror for me. You've been such a reflection for me. Like at first when I came across you, I couldn't believe someone could be living like this, experiencing like this. And I hated you for it. And I hated myself for it. But after I couldn't stay away from what your message was.
Yeah.
And after seeing you and seeing who you are and what you stand for, this has been the biggest lesson of my life. I get that from guys and girls all the time. And it speaks to us just being and living in our truth, you know. And it's like this is our reality, and I know that you live in your truth, as do I. And in a time where we're under like universal deceit, you know, this is telling the truth and living your experience is everything that's needed today. And that's the influence that I know you're having on so many Iranians. What do you think your message is to Iran right now? What is your message to all the people over there? Because I have cousins there. My mom still goes back all the time. I've never been. My dad never let me go to Iran.
Yeah.
And it crushes me. What's your message to all those people? What's like the theme?
First of all, I'd love to be your tour guide. When I can go back myself one day, that'd be amazing. We go together.
Please, can you imagine that?
What's up?
Can you imagine how epic that would be?
Yeah, man, seriously, because like I know everything about that country, and I know everything that like about this country and the culture they used to here. Anyways, that'd be amazing. But in general, it's been a lot of things over the years. But as I grew up, I figured the best message to send across that could resonate, and hopefully can resonate with people and could affect their lives, it's just the system of believing in yourself. Because I realized the Iranian youth, they really don't believe in themselves. And they don't, a lot of times, like, you know, things as simple as like, if you believe something you could achieve, like go after your dreams, stuff like that. And you tell them and they're like, oh, that's for other countries, not for here. They really don't believe it. You know what I mean? You know, and
why is that? Why have they been severed from an unlimited reality? Is it the oppression over there? Is it their parents? Is it a combination of just the way life in society is in Iran? I'm curious because it hurts my soul when I feel into my people and know that there's a culture over there that's brewing of just pain and frustration and hitting brick walls. It hurts me because I know who we are as a people.
It's a combination of all of these, man. A big part of it is that when they just look around them, they just see oppression and like they can't speak their mind. The most basic things, they can walk in the, even like a lot of things are illegal that aren't here. That doesn't even make sense. Like I'm just gonna say one thing, like rap music is illegal in Iran. Can you imagine? Like rap music is illegal. Doesn't matter that there's a censored version of it. There's no type of legal rap music in Iran, no matter what you say. Wow. And even other types of music, when you want to go like release a record, someone has to approve your lyrics. And there's no specific laws that what you can and can't say, right? I might go to the person and they're like, okay, no, fuck this. You're not going to put this song out. Someone else might go with the same lyrics and get the approval. Depends on the guy's mood, you know? And overall in the country, like there's a lot of corruption and people used to seeing that, okay, the rich people, whoever is successful and has something, they must be connected to the government or that's the only way to do it. And a lot of times that is true. You know, but a lot of people, no matter where you're from, people with worse odds and worse countries, I mean, worse countries in the sense of like economic wise and economic opportunity, have risen to like really high places. But in Iran, a lot of the youth just don't believe it. So I've been trying to like spoon feed it through my lyrics, a message of positivity that no, you can do things, you can change it. You should start with yourself, your surroundings, your environment, and you will see change. And, you know, and new doors will open. Just like shitty things happen unexpectedly, good things do happen unexpectedly too, to a lot of people. And anyway, so I mean that's just a big part of it, but there's a lot of things.
So, okay, so 2 points. So the youth, are they feuding with each other over there, or are they banding together?
No, man. In general, that's a big thing. Also, in general,
A
that
lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, a lot of hating. Is it that?
listen,
That's what I
anger, bro.
noticed. That's what I noticed. So I didn't grow up with Iranian friends. I didn't really have Persian friends till I was about 14, 15, 16 years old. And when
Yeah,
I started going around them, I noticed there was a lot of machismo, a lot of ego, a lot of trying to better the other person. It was unbelievable. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
part of that shifted my reality in my early 20s and mid 20s. I kind of like got influenced by
yeah,
that a little bit
yeah.
myself. And is it like that in Iran?
Yeah, I mean, there's nuances. Like, there's the differences in between. Like over here, there's a lot of it. The immigrant mentality. I'm here, and you have to be tough. Like you don't feel like you fit in a lot of times, and you feel like it's let's stick together and just like certain things that you do. Over there, it's just this anger. This thing of this frustration and this like just they've given up. A lot of people, and when I'm saying I'm generalizing, they've just given up on things. And in the street, when you're going, you're just ready to like just fight with other people, like over driving and shit like that. People like it's crazy, man. People getting over here. There's road rage. People get in fights and get shot too, right? But over there, like it's just like such a big thing to just like fight. And I haven't been back for a long time, and people tell me I haven't been back for over 20, 21 years now. And the big difference is that people tell me is like just walking in the streets and just like seeing other people. First of all, everybody in general looks unhappy. Everybody's angry. Like they're just like they will get at you. It's very easy to get in fights, and they're blameless, And there's a lot of mental illness right now going on because of the pressures that's on people and the youth, and really a lot of drug addiction going on.
So it's basically a hot plate that's boiling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So a lot of pressure, a lot of confusion, a lot of pent up anger, lineage anger, generational anger. I mean, look what the country's gone through. I mean, a revolution and deprived of everything, robbed of their innocence, robbed of their money. One of the richest, most proudest cultures in the world, my bloodline, your bloodline, has basically been decapitated in a sense, and our roots have been cut. So what do you expect, right?
And also in the same sense, this is the country where it has some of the nicest, kindest people in the world. I mean, there's multiple when it comes to tourists, right? Like Anthony Bourdain, he's been to every freaking country multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And when he went to Iran, he's like, out of all the countries I've been to, I've never expected this much friendliness, and they're so kind to tourists and stuff like that. And that's just one example. Every time a foreigner goes there as a tourist, they get so much love. People invite them to their homes. They have to come in, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But because that's not necessarily the competition in Iran, but like between themselves, there's this rat race and there's just like anger. And then a lot of things people know. A lot of things is the government. A lot of things is the people culturally, and people know, and people talk about that all the time. It's not just that, it's our people too. This person does this, and there's a lot of shady shit. And I mean, it's just like, if I want to open it, it has to be like multiple lives just talking about this issue.
Sure.
So I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but
I think we should do that. I really want to start creating some type of activation and awareness and create subject matter around this, because it's heavy on my heart. And if the war didn't happen, I would have been basically born in Iran. I would have been raised in Iran. Obviously, fate had it for me to be here and become who I am today. And whoever's listening, I lost my dad last year, and ever since that happened, I've just been like, oh my God, I have to heal something with Iran, because my dad was telling me towards the last couple of weeks. He was crying, and he was really suffering on what was going on in Iran. Yeah, and he was feeling the pain of his people and where he came from. It was really powerful and very, very sad in that whole sense. So I have my heart's there. And then if you guys are from Iran and you're listening right now, I've partnered with Novak Djokovic. He's the #1 tennis player in the world. I know that a lot of Iranians love Novak because of his spirit and because of his energy. And he's from Serbia, which is a very close connection with Iran. And so we're going to be doing some amazing things We have some cool stuff lined up for this whole thing between Serbia and Iran. We want to create awareness of the two countries and talk about our lineage and talk about things that we can actually do for the people. And I definitely want you involved in this whole entire thing. So it's just about getting truth out there and really talking about the subject matter and putting some light on it.
Man. I'm in, man. I'm a big fan of Novak. You're my homie. I've known you forever, so I know it's like good intentions and good actions to come from what you guys are doing.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. And you know, the Iranian culture is, I feel like, is the most hidden culture, you know, to the modern Western world.
Absolutely.
And what you said about Anthony Bourdain is so real, because I hear that from random Americans that I meet that have actually traveled to Iran. Believe it or not, a lot of Americans have gone to Iran to experience Iran, and they've said nothing but this was the most beautiful people, the sweetest people, the nicest people. And it's in our hearts, you know. It's like we want to share, we want to invite you in, we want to feed you, we want to house you, we want to bathe you, we want to love on you. And the generations and generations over the last 20, 30, 40 years, we're losing a lot of that over there. There's a lot of suffering going on right now. That's not being passed on right now to the youth. The youth, I believe, it's kind of like the Catholic schoolgirl syndrome. You know, you've deprived them so much that they've just gone completely crazy and completely out of their mind. And they're looking at Europe, they're looking at the West, and they just want to live our lifestyle that they think we're living over here, right?
That's crazy, man. I just wanted to like touch on that, and you brought it up. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So exactly. So there's a lot of things that people need to be educated about over there, like, and it's just like taboo, and they don't talk about it. Like, there's no sex education in school. There's no real talk about, oh, drugs are bad, don't do drugs. But like, there's no, people don't know shit about drugs, right? So there's some kids in Iran that, like, they just see movies from here and see artists over here, they see music videos, and these like 13, 14-year-old kids and just going to these parties and doing heavy drugs. And like the way they do drugs in Iran, some of these kids, like, I'd never heard of it anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's really heavy, and they don't have the knowledge. Like over here, it's different. People still do it. People still fuck up and all those things. But there's sex education, and parents talk about it. And there's like, it's not taboo in society to talk about those things, or about drugs, about stuff like that, you know? So, but at the same time, they have access, like, so there's no talk about that in families as much as it should be, and in society and in schools. But then they have access to the internet, and they see everything that's going on in the outside world, you know?
Yeah.
But they see this much. They see they see what the media stuff. They see the music videos, movies,
Right.
not the real life, you know?
Right.
Not the good things about like Western culture that, you know, like let's say in America, like American culture, there's a lot of great things about it. Like the education, believing in yourself, the drive, you can be what you want, believe in yourself. They don't get that shit. They just get the stuff about the drugs, and they just like do the drugs, and they don't know, and like everything, man, you know? It's just like such a lack of understanding of it.
It's shocking, and it's painful to feel into the vibration of the youth over there that are basically have no idea what these drugs can do to them, have no idea the effect of these designer drugs, let alone the heroin, let alone whatever the hell it is that they're doing. They probably have no idea the pharmacology and the science behind them, and don't even understand exactly what it's doing to the human body and how to prepare to be able to detox from these things or do anything. It's just, they're like, fuck it, life sucks. We're trapped over here. Let's just get together and just waste time, right? It's crazy.
Exactly. And that's another thing. I'm glad as you're bringing things up, then like it takes me to where I should go in the conversation. And let's say over here, drinking. There's a legal drinking age. Everybody starts drinking before the legal drinking age anyways. People experiment with drugs. People start smoking weed before. Now it's legal. But before it was legal, you know, a lot of people in high school smoke weed. Some people start experimenting with ecstasy in high school, stuff like that. And then after a certain age, you can legally go do it. You know, there's I'm not talking about drugs, but just going out and that release and like meeting, like hanging out with people of the opposite sex,
socializing,
like nightclubs, bars, beach, whatever it is, you know, public, from the hardcore to the you know, it's like softer things that you could do just daily life and going to the beach and stuff like that.
For sure.
Over there, everything's underground, and it is like culture of like there's parties, people party really hard and do everything but it's underground in people's homes and it's hidden. And, like, that's what it is, and everything's like private. And people start doing stuff like ecstasy, popping ecstasy pills, like M&Ms, like when they're like much younger than here, and way more often because they just don't understand like what it could do to them. You know, they don't know it, and
They're completely uneducated.
yeah, yeah, uneducated, and like again, because it's illegal, the way they do it and the environments that they do it, you know, and you know, your brain is still developing till about your like 2025. And just imagine the effects that it has on your brain doing things over and over. And it's just a big part of, it's not like everybody's doing it, but it's a really big part of people, that a big part of society, like big young, like teenagers that are doing it at a younger age than here. And, you know, it affects your brain for life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the brain is always actually evolving to a certain degree. And if people are starting to take these, you know, specific drugs like MDMA, which is a methylene, you know, diethylmide,
Yeah.
it's basically narcotic and amphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're taking that at age 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and consistently, you're completely redesigning your entire brain. And you won't have any serotonin receptors left, which means you're going to be depressed and chasing something your entire life.
Exactly.
And then you're pretty much fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's shocking. So what would be a solution to this? I mean, have you thought?
I mean,
how do we get the message to the youth over there? How do we, where do we instill hope? Do we work with the Iranian government? Are they completely complicit in all this? Well, they don't want to hear this? Would they accept someone like me talking about health and spirituality over there? Or would I be lynched?
You will be lynched. But I keep it going. No, I'm kidding. Like, I mean, it's just like, depends what you're doing and what level, what you're trying to do. In general, there, like it's like there's people who care in the government, like in every government, you know, there's like good people, obviously. But in general, the whole thing is like, they don't give a fuck. They're not, they kill drug dealers, like, you know, they're and stuff like that. But we all know it's so easy to make it, and that's not the way to do it. So the way for it to be, they kind of like push everything under the rug, you know?
Yeah,
yeah. Come and talk about it publicly, educate people, talk about it, instead of them being afraid that, oh no, this stuff doesn't go on in our country.
So it's like the Iranian father. It's like the typical Iranian dad that doesn't.
There's no homosexuality in this country. There are no drugs in this country. There's no things. It's lies. If you're gay, go get a sex change instead of just like being who you are.
Wow.
They legalized sex change pretty much, like in the Islamic way, for gays, so they don't have gays, so the gays will get sex changes, and like as if it's the same thing, you know, as if like someone like is transgender is the same as, and some people actually do it and go fall for it, and then they get depressed, and then they commit suicide and stuff like that, you know. So it's just a matter of education, and I think artists in general, people do like young people really do listen to us, you know, but it's something that I think a coalition, like everybody, or a large group of artists, like kind of talking about things more openly, about sexual abuse, about drug use, about lifestyle, and how everything you see on TV is not real. And there should be moderation. I experiment with things, you know. I might do Molly once a year or twice a year. I barely did it in my 20s, you know. There's a big difference with that. And then doing it like every weekend or every other weekend, or like, you know, like 12 times a year, 24 times a year, like every couple of weeks, and so heavy when you're 14 years old. There's a big difference with that, you know? So it's just like, just learning that these things they're not so black and white, and there's ways of doing it, you know? Yeah.
Wow. It's heavy to feel into all that, because I can consciously connect to the children and the kids and the young adults and our basically our youth, our people. And to think that these are my family members, this is my blood, this is the spirit of my nation, it's under this type of oppression. It really hurts me. And we got to figure out a solution. We got to be able to help, because we're helping so many people across the world right now. And I feel sometimes a little bit out of sorts. You know, I get a lot of Iranians hitting me up a lot and sending me a message. Why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about that? I'm sure you get that all the time. I do notice that you are outspoken though, and I give you props for that. I know that you speak about stuff that's going on, and I really commend you for that. For me, I just need to be around it more
Yeah,
and understand it more to be able to speak on these things. And you know, the next step is to really figure out, is it having these conversations? Do these conversations lead to us to be able to make solutions and be able to make connections and stuff like that? I hope so, and I think so.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that message of like health and just how important your body is and your temple is, and like everything, how you could like do these things a lot of like, especially with like diets and like food and taking care of your body. I think that message is grown a lot in Iran the past few years. More
Oh,
people
that's good.
doing yoga, trying to eat better. A lot of more vegetarians and vegans. It's happening. The movement's there. But they might smoke 2 packs of cigarettes at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's just like a matter of like kind of, drawing the whole picture of like, a mix of material and the soul. That's my belief. I mean, like, I don't know exactly where you are with that, but I believe that it has to be like, I have this song called Yechi Venesha, which I'm like, in general, I'm talking about duality and how certain things, I think you can't go like the deep end in either way. I think you should kind of like, live in this world, but know what's going on in your soul too,
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. I don't know if that's
No, it makes total sense. That's the balance between two worlds, and that's the living right in the center of it. What my heart and mind's telling me is at the core of this whole thing is when you feel like you're hopeless, where you feel like you don't have a purpose in this life, you can't see the light at the end of it, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And who gives a shit about your health? Who gives a shit about your relationships? Who gives a shit about anything?
It's just pure survival mode. Yeah.
You're in survival mode, and all you care about is how do I have self gratification in the moment. And with self gratification, what is it? It's drugs, it's food, it's sex, it's partying, it's lower vibrational stuff that keeps you away from your mission here in this reality. You know what I mean? And so it's like I'm literally, I can speak for myself right now, just self perspective. I'm literally living the exact opposite of that across the board in my entire lifestyle. The way I breathe, the way I look at things, the way I interpret things, the way I use discernment, the way I eat, the way I sleep, the way I talk, the way I learn, the way I experience. And I'm just like, okay, I can look at that, and then I throw the opposite in, and that's basically what's happening to the youth of Iran right now. And it's full on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I said I'm impressed with the number of people sometimes with the type of messages that I get,
Yeah.
And how much knowledge they have about certain things, because that has one meaning only, that they were seeking it, they're after it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But as far as just people getting touched throughout the day, there's a lot of different ways that people can get the message, and they're not. It's just like whoever has it inside them on their own, or they have a friend who knows about this stuff. They might get touched by it, but overall throughout the day in the country, like everything's shut down, and like it's hard to get the message across.
Yeah. And these issues,
I'm gonna touch on this, Chervin. I mean, like sometimes I feel guilty. Like I was a kid myself in my 20s. Some of the songs, some of the messages in my songs, and I'm like, did I have an effect? Did I have a bad effect on some things? And so that's why we just like I think the most important thing I could do is just give that message of positivity and belief in yourself, give like that, and how things can be real, and you don't have to live in that complete darkness within yourself, and like just like negative thoughts about yourself and about your life, and the overall vibration that you get, like it changes the whole vibration of your body and your thoughts and everything when you change the way you think, so yeah.
Absolutely. And you're not going to live in the past, but your past is helping you evolve for your future.
Yeah.
So whatever song you put out there that might have been this way, or might have had this type of energy. Dude, that was part of your life. You know, that's part of your journey. And all that matters is now. That's it. Who gives a shit about yesterday? You know what I mean? And so, so I honor you for that. I was just thinking, like, this is the Self-Mastery Project. You and I don't know how long ago, we were about to get started on you translating for me some holistic stuff, nutrition stuff, spiritual stuff. I think there's nobody better in the world to do that besides me and you. I'm right there at the core of consciousness right now. You're a lyricist master who's on the same wavelength. We really should create something together, specifically for our people. And,
respect, man. I'm with that, man. Anything,
you know,
we talked about it a long time ago. We were kind of getting into it. To be honest, I don't even remember what happened. Sometimes you just get so busy with life.
Life happens.
Yeah, life happens. That's what happens. And so I'm with that, man. You know, the things that you're doing, you have some great products, great, basically life choices, I should say.
Just awareness, just having the awareness. And just like all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh my God, this is a totally different reality, you know, and helping people see the light and giving them the keys to their freedom. I feel like, you know, I talk about sovereignty all the time. Sovereignty is what's missing in Iran. People are not feeling sovereign. And what does that mean? That means that they're in control.
Yeah.
They feel like there's an outside entity that holds dominion over them, right?
Big time.
Yeah. And so there's things that we can do on an emotional level and practice level that we can change that and have them break free of that. You know, it's
a big
feeling of full on.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a big feeling of when you were talking about how we could change people's minds and how they just like don't have self-belief and stuff. It's because they feel like they're not in control at all. Like they have no influence. They cannot influence their own lives. They can't influence the lives of their loved ones, the people around them, and everything's by someone else. That's why they're just waiting for this Messiah. And that's something that's been put in religiously into our heads too, especially like Shiite Muslims, that someone's going to come. They're just waiting. The next president, the next person, someone to come, daddy, you know, someone to come help because it's out of my hands, you know, so someone needs to do something for me, you know.
Well, that's interesting.
So the power of the person and the power of the group. We will get together and the things that people can do, you know, and to change their own lives and like their existence, you know.
That's super fascinating that they have that perspective, and it makes sense. When you're stripped of your power and you're stripped of being in control, you're waiting for something to come and save you.
Yeah.
And you know, so
you were touching on something important. Sorry to cut you off. I just had to get that in there.
I have no idea what I was touching on, except feeling a lot of empathy for the people right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at the same time there's a lot of beautiful things happening in Iran. But I think what you and I are talking about is just generalizing the culture of what's happening with the people. And just on an economic level, on a financial level, you know, we're in a modern world, and finances, I mean, you need money to drink clean water today. I mean, that's where it's come to, right? And so understanding the economic situation on what's happening with, you know, people's ability to create abundance over there. I'm really interested in seeing what's going on with that, because I talked to my family, I talked to my mom. You know, we have a lot of real estate assets in the Caspian Sea and in Iran and Tehran as well. And I know it's ever since all these sanctions and all this crap that's been happening, it's been basically dismantling everyone's ability to be able to produce and to make money. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people, like, even they're living comfortable lives. They have a lot of money, but things aren't happening. Things like, especially with real estate, because people don't have the cash to do a lot of things, you know. And
right.
So I mean, it's been crippling financially for a lot of people, and also the gap between.
Is there a large gap between rich and poor over there?
Big time, yeah, big time. There's no middle class, pretty much. I mean, there's a middle class, but it's like there's a big gap between the rich and poor.
Wow.
And I mean, just something. I'm gonna put it in basic terms. Say, imagine. I remember there was a time when the dollar was like 700 tomans, you know, and then it kept getting expensive over time. Kept getting more expensive. Maybe 2-3 years ago, it was like 4,000 or 5,000, and now
which was good.
Which is still, everybody's like, oh my god, like what the fuck. I have a song about the dollar prices being expensive. I'm like,
Oh, cool.
when I had that song, the dollar was 2,500 tomans. Okay, now it's 16,000, bro. Now imagine so many
16,000.
you know, and like, and they try to subsidize things to kind of keep the price of certain things down, but just like, there's things that just like they're connected to the dollar and you can't do anything about it, right? So like, affordability has come down for so many people and it gets worse all the time.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That's terrible. I mean, that's basically they're being suffocated essentially. And, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we're here. You know,
we're here.
We're here.
Like, yeah, there's things we can do for sure.
Yeah. And I'm gonna think about it. You do the same thing. I think just having conversations and you know, I have a huge network. You have a huge network. Just having people watch these types of videos with these conversations, just that in itself can spark change and spark some type of perspective. I think ultimately, I'd love to do a couple lives and have you translate a couple of things regarding health and nutrition and prayer and meditation and all those things.
I think that would be great. Actually, let me say something in Farsi because a lot of people I can see that they are confused and they're not understand what's going on. بچه کسایی که تو لایو بودین تا حالا یا الان هستین صحبتی که داریم خیلی چیزا میگم راجع به قم داریم مینویسین نمیدونم قضیهش چیه حالا برام بعدش ببینم اتفاقی افتاده حتما ولی شروین که از دوستای خوب از قدیممه که خب الان خیلی کارهای مختلف داره میکنه برای سلامتی هم روحش هم برای بدن که خب خیلی میتونه این ترجمه بشه کاری که میکنه حرفایی که چی کاری که بلده رو اگه مثلا ترجمه بکنم براتون کمک بکنم میتونه خود زندگی خیلی شاید کمکای بکنه خلاصه داریم راجع به این چیزا صحبت میکنیم چون فارسیش خیلی خوب نیست تمرکز رو
من فارسی خوب بلدم
تو دفعه بعد همین لایوها رو بذاریم شروین میتونیم صحبت بکنیم راجع به سری چیزا و من حالا مستقیم ترجمه کنم براتون که بدیم داریم راجع به چی صحبت میکنیم و فکر بکنم anyways بهتون اثر بذاره من قاطی کردم انگلیسی فارسی مخالص anyways so yeah
برادر مرسی همینطور همش مرسی
دمت گرم دوستت دارم لایو خوبی بود let's continue the mission and you know let's get together man soon
yeah well mi casa su casa anytime brother and sure. We definitely need to connect.
Yeah man, anything you want to talk about specifically to continue on?
Yeah, let's see here. Right now, you know, I'm very, very curious to know what's going on in Iran regarding this whole COVID situation.
Yeah.
You know, I have my opinions. I don't really talk about them openly about it. I don't think there's anything to fear over here. What's going on in Iran right now with all that?
You know, it's strange, man. Iran's one of the first countries that they were saying there's a lot of people with the COVID-19. And they were saying that the government is hiding the numbers. When the government was saying there's like, I don't know, 200 people have it, they were saying, no, it's over 10,000. And at that time, it's bullshit. There's no way. South Korea has 600. This is when, that's the time I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then it came out that no, all these videos started coming out. A lot more people have it. The health minister started talking about things, or his deputy, these letters came out. And it came out there's a lot more people, and it started growing fast. And I think at some point Iran was just behind South Korea with their
like number 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was those were the official numbers. It's in the unofficial numbers are like maybe 5 times to 10 times more. And all this stuff was coming out, and but now it seems like it's just something. It's human nature, I guess. We get used to things, and just the news stops being news, and just like you don't, even though it's a lot more than before now, you don't really hear people talking about it as much, and you don't see that many videos coming out. And I'm like, okay, so where are the bodies? Where's all these things happening? They were like turning stadiums into hospitals, or making like desert style like military hospitals. And so what's happening now? I even kind of feel that about this side of the world, in that sense that like people like, what happened? People like, when it was like 200,000 people had it, people were losing their minds, and now it's like millions, and you don't really happy. You don't see the effect as much anymore. People are they're like, fuck the quarantine, they're coming out anyway. So what's happening in Iran, to get back to that, it's confusing because obviously a lot more people have it now than last month, but a lot less people talk about it. Less media like footage and stuff like that is coming out of Iran about it, and And people like just kind of continuing with their lives. You know, they kind of fucked the quarantine. A lot of people just going back to work, driving.
Good.
You know, anyways.
Good. I mean, good,
I see
because
stuff down here. They're saying hoax. They're saying Corona 1. They're saying, dude, something happened in the city of Qom, man. Apparently, because everybody keeps saying Qom, Qom, Qom. I think during our live, maybe a flood or some accident happened, and a lot of people. That's where it's the city of, like, you know, the.
that's the holy city, right?
Yeah, I mean the holy city, the self-proclaimed holy city.
Well,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
I don't know, man. People keep saying, like, you know, R.I.P. Qom, R.I.P. Qom. I don't know what's going on. I guess we'll find out about after the live. But yeah, something's happening over there. And
Okay. Well, let's send love and prayers there.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. You know, you and I just winged it. We had no idea what we were going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these conversations. And let's do it again very soon. Let's I'm going to meditate on our conversation and think of like what's reasonable and what we can do and help people in Iran, and talk about things that help people and inspire people. And like I said, Novak is very, very keen on working with me to help develop something with Iran and Serbia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to create that energy.
I love Novak, man. Hopefully we get to meet and I'll hang out next time he's in town. And, you know,
100%.
figure out some plans for sure.
Yeah, brother. Hey, man, I love you. I look forward to coming back on the Nomad Land. I've been communicating with Yaya almost every other day.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And I can't wait. Nima, I love Nima. Sure. Just tell Nima I love him. And I think we got to do a Joshua Tree trip.
For sure, man. Absolutely. I'm actually leave tomorrow, but we got to do a trip soon.
I'll lead the medicine. All right?
Yeah. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you, brother.
And hopefully see you soon at the sanctuary or in Joshua Tree or somewhere.
You got it, brother. I'm going to post this. It'll be up for 24 hours. And let this be the first of many. It's an honor.
Cool, brother. Love you, man. Good to see you.
Hey, everyone. Ashagatam. Hamash Ashagatam. To familia, man. خواهش میکنم.
قربونتون من بچه.
قربونت برم. قربونت برم.